lovely viewers, welcome to English Lessons Online. In today's lesson, we shall be discussing Wassce summary test. I would like to use this opportunity to thank all those who have subscribed to this channel and to assure you of valuable and exciting content on this channel. And for those who haven't subscribed, kindly do so by pressing the red button and then click the notification bell beside it to get notified when we upload a new video. Summary forms a very vital part of the Wassce English language paper. The candidate will be expected to summarize a given passage for 30 marks. What is summary? Summary writing can be defined as the picking out of the main points in a passage and presenting them in your own words. In other words, summary involves reducing the length of a passage by picking out essential points from it. Now let's look at how to score high marks in summary tests. 1. Observe all grammatical rules. Candidates often make too many grammatical mistakes in answering summary questions. Candidates must write answers in good English, taking into consideration subject-verb agreements, spelling, punctuations, tense, and aspects. Number, etc. Make sure, for instance, the tense of your answer corresponds to the tense of the question. For example, question: in 3 sentences, 1 for each, state what governments use taxes for. This question is in the present tense form, and therefore your answer should also be in the present tense. Answer: they provide social amenities with tax revenue. It would be wrong for a student to answer this question by saying they provided social amenities with tax revenue. This is because the question is in the present tense form, and therefore the answer should also be in the present tense. 2. Make sure your sentences are as brief as possible. That is, exclude extraneous materials in answers to summary questions. Candidates must avoid elaborating on points when answering summary questions. Do well to avoid giving examples or citing instances. The moment expressions like, for instance, for example, such as, etc. begin appearing in a candidate's answers to summary questions, he or she is most likely adding unnecessary material, unless in situations where the question demands examples. Candidates must therefore be brief and straight to the point in answering summary questions. 3. Present answers in complete sentences. The use of single words, phrases, and clauses must be avoided. This is because the instructions on the question paper usually requires that the candidate write the answer in sentences, that is, complete sentences. The candidate must therefore know the difference between a complete sentence, a phrase, or a clause. Most candidates write phrases and incomplete sentences where a sentence is required. So if you wish to score a higher mark, please make sure you write your answers in complete sentences. Let's take a look at this text and see how we can write the answers in complete sentences. Governments of rich countries in the so-called First World must provide much needed economic assistance to poor countries in the Third World. Question: in one sentence, state one way in which the First World can help poor countries in the Third World. Take note, the question says in one sentence. Answer: they must provide poor countries with economic assistance, or they must give poor countries economic aid. So for the above text and the question that followed, you could write your answer this way. This is a complete sentence and is therefore the best way to write your summary answers. Please, writing your answers this way is not acceptable. Economic assistance. Provide economic assistance. These are not complete sentences and they do not make a complete meaning. We can see that with the sentences, they begin with a capital letter, end with a full stop, and they make a complete thought. 4. Avoid direct lifting from the passage. Candidates must use their own words in answering summary questions. Do not copy word for word when answering summary questions. However, technical words that are difficult to replace with synonyms can be picked from the passage in answering questions. What a candidate should not do is to lift full sentences or paragraphs as answers to questions. Use your own words as far as possible when answering summary questions. 5. Do not combine two or more scoring points in one sentence. A candidate who combines two or more points in one sentence where he or she is required to give 1 point per sentence is penalized. The candidate must therefore carefully follow the instructions on the paper. Let us go through this text to help us understand what we mean by presenting two scoring points in one sentence. I know that we cannot do without air, all of us, young or old. We need it to stay alive. Imagine blocking your nose for a few seconds and your body begins to grow pale, a sign that you are on your way out. We cannot also do without light, whatever its source. We need light to dry our clothes, keep our body temperature warm or cold, or run our industries. Question. In two sentences, one for each, state the things that the writer says we cannot do without. So when you present your answers like the following, you are combining two scoring points in one sentence and therefore you will not be awarded full marks. I. We need air and light. Or I. We cannot do without air and light. The question says two sentences, one for each, but in this answer, two scoring points were presented in one sentence, and therefore a candidate who does this will not be awarded full marks. The answer should be this way. I. We need air. I. We need light. Or I. We cannot do without air. I. We cannot do without light. The two should be separated and not combined in one sentence. 6. Follow instructions strictly. Write the exact numbers of sentences you have been asked to write. Make sure you label your answers to correspond with the labeling used for the questions. Do not, for example, write A instead of 1 or 2 instead of B. Some candidates fail to read the questions carefully and end up writing outside the demands of the question. Some, for instance, write 2 sentences where 1 is required. In cases like this, the candidate will not be awarded full mark. How to approach summary passages. 1. Read through the questions first. Reading through the question first enables the candidate to understand what he or she has been asked to summarize. 2. Quickly read through the passage to get the general meaning of the passage. Most summary passages are not given headings. At the end of the first reading, the candidate should have known the theme or subject matter of the passage. The candidate should at this stage also be in a position to suggest a title to the passage. This gives the candidate a general understanding of the passage. 3. Read through the questions a second time and make sure you understand what you are asked to do. So at this stage, the student needs to analyze the questions to have a full understanding of the questions. 4. Read through the passage a second time. This time, read through slowly and purposefully. Identify the topic sentence in each paragraph. Extract the main ideas in the passage in strict adherence to the summary questions. You could cancel out all irrelevant material on the passage by crossing them out neatly with a pencil. Examples and repetitions should be crossed out. You can then draft out your answers and write them in your own words. Please make sure you do not copy your answers word for word. Present your answers in your own words as far as possible. You can then present your answers in the specified number of sentences. If you are asked to present in 2 sentences, make sure you present in 2 sentences. If it's 4, make sure you present in 4 sentences. Do not present more or less. This brings us to writing answers for summary questions. Answers to summary questions can be written using 2 methods. Please, you cannot use both at the same time. You can use one at a time. So if you have decided to use one, then you cannot use the other. The first one is the preamble method. Then the second one is the sentence method. The preamble method. A preamble is an introductory statement used to introduce 2 or more ideas. The preamble is not the answer, but only leads us to the main answer. Note, the preamble method is used for 2 or more points. So where you've been asked to present your answer in 1 sentence, the preamble method is not applicable. It is only applicable if you are asked to present 2 or more sentences. We shall be using a text as an example to help us understand the preamble method better. So here is the text. I read. It is very disturbing that the 21st century is plagued by many calamities. Wars and other forms of violence like terrorism and kidnapping have become recurring problems that many countries have to contend with. This is because people are not willing to tolerate one another's differences. For instance, different ethnic groups take up arms against one another. Another problem is the increase in diseases. Now, more than before, many bacteria and viruses are being genetically created in medical laboratories. Sometimes, human beings are accidentally infected with these laboratory-invented microorganisms. At other times, infection is deliberate for research purposes, but could be accidentally transmitted to other people. Question. In 2 sentences, 1 for each, identify the causes of the problems of the 21st century. So from this question, we can see that we've been asked to present 2 points. Therefore, the preamble method is applicable here. Answer. So this is how to present your answer in the preamble method. The problems of the 21st century are caused by. This statement is what we call the preamble, and it covers every other point that comes under it. So the problems of the 21st century are caused by I. The increase in the level of intolerance among people. II. Man-made bacteria and viruses. It is essential to note that the preamble has to make a correct sentence with each answer. So the preamble must flow with the answer to make a complete meaning. Where the preamble does not flow with the answer, the candidate will not be awarded the full marks. It is advisable not to use the preamble method if the candidate is not sure whether it flows with the answer or not. The sentence method. We can also present our answers by writing them out in complete sentences. So we'll take note, each sentence must be complete and make a complete thought. So let us look at the text again and use it to answer the questions using the sentence method. It is very disturbing that the 21st century is plagued by many calamities. Wars and other forms of violence like terrorism and kidnapping have become recurring problems that many countries have to contend with. This is because people are not willing to tolerate one another's differences. For instance, different ethnic groups take up arms against one another. Another problem is the increase in diseases. Now, more than before, many bacteria and viruses are being genetically created in medical laboratories. Sometimes, human beings are accidentally infected with these laboratory-invented microorganisms. At other times, infection is deliberate for research purposes, but could be accidentally transmitted to other people. Question: in 2 sentences, one for each, identify the causes of the problems of the 21st century. Answer presented in the sentence method. A. Then we have I. There is an increase in the level of intolerance among people. II. There are now man-made bacteria and viruses. For the sentence method, we just go straight and list our answers in complete sentences, and our sentence should make a complete thought. We've come to the end of today's lesson. I trust this lesson has been helpful to you. Please, if this lesson has been helpful to you, kindly like it and share the videos to others to also benefit from it. And remember to subscribe to our channel. Thank you.